Well, here from Dubai, the whole day has been peppered with explosions from missile intercepts, and everyone is checking their phones every few minutes to see these updates. Now, the reports we've heard of strikes on the USS Abraham Lincoln strike carrier are very significant. We do not have confirmation from the United States that this has happened, but the Iranian armed forces say that they have fired 4 ballistic missiles at the ship and have hit it. This would be a very, very significant development if it were true. Now, in terms of oil prices, we are here in Dubai. We're not very far from the narrowest point of the Strait of Hormuz, which at its smallest is 33 kilometers in width. To give you an idea, the Strait of Hormuz is this very vital choke point where 1/5 of the world's oil passes through every single day. So any disruptions to the strait are very significant for the oil price.
Are you concerned, because we're hearing that international shipping firms have halted operations now through the strait. We also know that strikes have been reported in Dubai, and not only that, but also in Doha, Bahrain and Kuwait. Is there a fear on the ground, Natasha, that this is turning into a regional conflict?
It already has turned it into a regional conflict, Ali. I'm just in Dubai, and the whole region, flights have been grounded, airspace is closed, people are sheltering in their homes. If you go out into the streets, they're completely quiet. There is no traffic in this normally bustling city. It is the peak of the tourist period, and what's really notable about this conflict and what differentiates it from previous ones is that Iran is not just going after military targets, it's hitting civilian targets. It's, as you probably saw yesterday, these videos of the Fairmont Hotel on Dubai's Palm Jumeirah up in flames. This is the beating heart of Dubai's tourism industry. And Iran looks like it is sending a message saying, if you continue to support the U.S. and what they're doing, we will make sure you are punished in every way we can punish you. So there is a lot of fear for people's safety, of course, in general, because in the UAE, no one really ever imagined that this would be something that we would face. The Middle East writ large is very familiar with war, unfortunately, but the UAE has generally managed to stay a safe haven amidst broader regional chaos.
So I was just going to say, Natasha, missiles flying overhead is bad for business. I mean, you hear about fires breaking on the perimeter of the Burj Al Arab Hotel, which is another popular spot with tourists. Yep. I mean, it's not good. Do you think that there are conversations now going on between leaders there? We understand Mohammed bin Salman has spoken to senior officials on the UAE, where they weren't on the best terms, but they're talking again now. Do you think that there'll be... what's their strategy going to be? Do you have a sense?
Well, there's nothing like a common threat to bring neighbors closer together, even if they have been on less than ideal terms previously. So I don't have a very close-up view, but it seems as if rather than simply kind of quietly absorb the regional conflict like these countries have done in the past, there is likely to be more stepping up because they see very, very clearly and without a doubt that Iran is a dire and existential threat to their countries and to their economies in a way that it wasn't in the past.
Okay.
So the likelihood that we will see is that the GCC countries will become closer to each other and also closer to the United States, and perhaps even more forward and more direct in their defenses and perhaps offensive operations as well against Iran, but we have yet to see.
We now hear that 3 US service members were killed. CENTCOM have said, the US Central Command. They are the first known fatalities since the US began striking Iran on Saturday. We also hear that 5 others have been seriously wounded. So says the US military. The names of the 3 fallen soldiers will not be released until 24 hours after their families have been notified. And, of course, in announcing the US operation against Iran, President Trump did say the lives of American heroes may be lost. We may have casualties. That often happens in war. The press conference that Donald Trump gave yesterday in Mar-a-Lago.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass.
A few hours later, we heard from the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
As part of our commitments to the security of our allies in the Middle East, we have a range of defensive capabilities in the region, which we've recently strengthened. Our forces are active, and British planes are in the sky today as part of coordinated regional defensive operations to protect our people, our interests, and our allies, as Britain has done before, in line with international law.
We then heard this news broken by CNN.
We're getting information from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah is dead. This is breaking news again coming from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, is dead.
But then the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, went onto another US cable network and claimed that that wasn't true.
Can you confirm with specificity that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is alive, and separately that the Iranian president is alive right now following these American and Israeli strikes?
As far as I know, yes, they are alive. And the head of judiciary as well, the head of the Speaker of Parliament as well, all high-ranking officials are alive. And the secretary of the National Security Council. So everybody is now in its position, and we are handling this situation, and everything is fine.
Until we had confirmation in the early hours of this morning from Iranian state media, and you hear the TV presenter break down.
بعد از عمری مجاهدت حسینی و دائمی و خستگی ناپذیر روح بلند و ملکوتی کوه نستوه ولایت پدر مهربان امت رهبر و امام مسلمین حضرت آیت الله العظما سید علی حسینی خامنه‌ای در راه سربلندی حرم جمهوری اسلامی ایران شهد گوارای شهادت را نوشیدند و به ملکوت اعلی پیوستند.
Presenter on Iranian state TV, and as a result, we have seen people on the streets of Iran celebrating. Let's speak with Tara Kangalo, who is international affairs journalist and author of the book The Heartbeat of Iran, Real Voices of a Country and Its People. Thank you very much for joining us. Very much appreciate your time this afternoon on LBC. Firstly, I mean, your response, we'll get into sort of details, but your response on what you've seen play out over the last 24, 30 hours or so.
Thank you for having me. Indeed, unprecedented times. I think this is perhaps one of the most historic moments in Iran's modern history. Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, who for more than 30 years held a strong grip over the country and is known as a dictator and authoritarian force that oppressed and repressed and choked millions of Iranians for, again, years, has been killed. As I know, we'll get into it, Iran is a country of 90 million. It certainly is not a monolithic society, but I will say, having reported on the country for 15 years and also having lived there, pretty much half of my life, that the majority of the Iranian people are celebrating the death of the supreme leader. All the while, of course, there are supporters of the regime who we would see on the streets mourning the death of the Ayatollah, and as well as other members of the regime.
You mentioned then about the celebration, the fact that people are pleased that he has gone, actually, regardless of what happens next. But if we do turn to what happens next, talk us through some of the potential scenarios where, I mean, Khamenei's son, for instance, we haven't heard from him. There's a sense that he may take over, or there's a sense that there are other officials from the Supreme National Security Council. I appreciate we just don't know, but what are the possible scenarios as you see them, Tara?
Indeed. There are multiple scenarios. I would say the Iranian regime is in an extremely precarious moment in its survival. It's worth noting that the regime has been hit in its three prongs of intelligence, military, and leadership. The Israeli military announced that over 40 government officials have been killed. And these attacks, by the way, continue. So what comes next? I don't think anyone can tell with certainty, but there are multiple scenarios. Right now, there is a sort of leadership council, as they call it, that has been formed in Iran, that's made up of the country's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, who just spoke a few hours ago. He is alive, as well as the head of the country's judiciary, Ejei, an extremely conservative figure, as well as another extremely conservative cleric, a 65-year-old Alireza Arafi, who is a member of the Assembly of Experts and the Guardian Council. Again, very, very influential and close to probably the most conservative factions within the IRGC. So these guys have formed this transition group that would lead the way whilst the Assembly of Experts select the next supreme leader. But there are also various factions within the regime of Iran. Again, this is not a monolithic regime either. You have characters like Larijani, an extremely influential figure.
And he's seen as sort of coordinating this behind the scenes, really, with the frail Ayatollah.
I wouldn't say necessarily coordinating, because not everyone likes him, right?
Sure.
And that's something that we need to point out too, that not everybody within the regime is united. But he's certainly leading the way. For instance, he issued a statement in Arabic, speaking with Gulf countries, essentially saying, we don't want to attack you. We're being attacked out of your bases, because obviously the regime is very much under scrutiny by the Gulf countries. But I want to point out that he is taking a lead in making statements and sort of projecting this image that he might very well have some form of position in what comes next. It's worth mentioning that he is a son of an incredibly influential cleric, as is his wife. He served as a nuclear negotiator for many years. He was a speaker of the parliament. So a character worth watching. And then on the other hand, we need to watch the current Speaker of the House, Ghalibaf, another IRGC official. So really what we're having right now in Iran is a moment where various factions within the IRGC apparatus are trying to find their footing on what's next. All the while, the regime has doubled down on its attacks against Israeli and U.S. forces. We just heard that 3 U.S. service members were killed, 5 injured, and the IRGC official channels are reporting that they've hit the Lincoln carrier that's in the Gulf. So a lot at stake. And again, it's an extremely precarious time.
I wouldn't want to compare this with what we saw in Venezuela at all. But if you look at that situation, there was a situation where obviously the leader was deposed. You had someone who we thought President Trump was closest to, the Nobel Nobel Prize winner Maria Corina Machado. It ended up Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president from that same administration, running it. Could we see the same here? Because it looks as if Reza Pahlavi is obviously the closest with President Trump on paper, but I read that Hassan Rouhani, who's the sort of former president, very much a reformist, there's some suggestion he or someone else from a previous government could be a sort of interim leader.
Indeed, again, anything and everything is possible. And I think so much wait and see game, very much on what Trump's move will be next. However, you're absolutely right. Reza Pahlavi, the son of the former Shah of Iran that was ousted in 1979, he has been sort of leading the way, especially within the diaspora, as a viable opposition figure to lead this transition. He has yet to meet with President Trump. He has some strong advocates from the more conservative senators, especially Lindsey Graham, for instance, within the United States. But again, as you mentioned, are we going to see a Venezuela scenario? In Venezuela, it was a bit different because they just extracted Maduro and the rest of the apparatus was very much intact. Whereas in Iran, they are penetrating the system and the regime from all sides. And mind you that right now, the strikes are continuing in Tehran as many are on the streets mourning the killing of the supreme leader. And yes, you heard mourning. While we have celebrations on the streets, there's still supporters of the regime who are on the streets right now mourning. So the other scenario that you mentioned, whether or not Trump will pull someone from within the system, again, who is that person? The reformist candidates, including Rouhani, we haven't heard from. The former foreign minister, Zarif, who is also known as a quote-unquote reformist candidate, he issued a statement sharing messages of condolence for the killing of Khamenei, as did President Khatami. But they have been awfully quiet in the past few weeks. And again, part of the likelihood. But one thing I want to make very clear is that the majority of the Iranian people are looking at what's happening right now as a moment to move beyond the Islamic regime. I'm quoting someone I spoke with earlier who was present in the protests of just a month ago. And she said, people are thinking that this is our moment to move beyond the regime. Now, how they're going to do that, they don't know. But that's really what they're hoping for. So whether it's a reformist, a moderate, whatever, within the system, the people of Iran really don't want that. All the while, they're wary and very much aware that the United States and Israel don't have their best interests at heart in the long term, but they want to move beyond this regime.